Hey everybody, this is Matt Fee in Rutherford County again. It's been a little while since my last video, and a lot has happened in that time. Unfortunately, some of it has been deeply troubling as we continue to see people in power using their influence to target the most marginalized members of our communities, both in Nashville at the state legislature and here at home on the governing body of our public libraries. Lately, I've been thinking aloud about a saying I've heard many times before, one that I've always felt is good advice. I'll paraphrase. What you do to the least among us, you do unto me. I've always understood this as a simple call to empathy, much like the Golden Rule. But I'm not someone who regularly attends church or considers myself deeply religious. But I do believe in treating others the way I would want to be treated. If something feels unjust, I try to ask myself, how would I feel if this were done to me? That's just basic human decency. But lately, it has become clear, both in Nashville and right here in Rutherford County, that this kind of empathy is fading from those in power. Instead, some have twisted their faith into a battle of good versus evil, where evil is simply anyone who does not share their specific biblical worldview. But faith should not be a weapon to attack others. A true spiritual battle is internal. Good means having empathy, understanding, and respect for people with different experiences. Evil is the opposite. It is a lack of empathy, an insistence that only one perspective is valid, and a demand that everyone else must conform. This lack of empathy has been fully on display these past few weeks. The Tennessee legislature continues advancing a bill that would allow school districts to deny children access to public education based on immigration status. Children who had no choice in the matter would be turned away from schools simply because their families fled violence and instability in search of a better life. And then this past Monday night, the Rutherford County Library Board voted to remove a children's book about gender dysphoria, claiming it contained, quote, false and misleading information. Additionally, a motion was introduced to remove all books that reference transgender identities. This decision sends a clear message. The board does not acknowledge the legitimacy of transgender people and seeks to erase their representation in public spaces. The leader of this push left the meeting looking smug and proud, satisfied with what he had accomplished. But here's the truth. His life will never be impacted by the actions he took that night. He could never attend another board meeting again, and his day-to-day reality would remain unchanged. But there are people in our community, children, families, and individuals who will feel the consequences of this decision deeply. This is not just politics. This is about real harm being done to real people. Since that night, I've realized that the saying I had in my mind is actually a verse from the book of Matthew, the very book my own name comes from. Matthew 25:40 says, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Denying education to immigrant children and erasing transgender youth from public spaces is a rejection of Christ's teachings. Denying immigrant children access to education is an act of harm, exclusion, and cruelty. Removing books that allow transgender children to see themselves is an act of harm, exclusion, and cruelty. This is not how Jesus taught us to treat others. I can only hope that one day those who claim to act in his name will wake up and realize that they are doing the exact opposite of what he taught. I hope they will learn to embrace empathy, to understand, and to be better members of our community. I know that we won't all agree on everything, but I hope we can agree on this. No child should be told they don't belong. No child should be denied an education or erased from public life because of who they are. The measure of a community is not in how we treat the powerful, but in how we treat those who are most vulnerable. Right now, we have a choice to build a Rutherford County that embraces all its people, or to let cruelty and exclusion define us. We don't have to let hate win. Peace. I love you.